Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Kraft. I'm one of the coordinators of the Rockland Arts Festival. And tonight we are doing visual conversations. Be sure to visit www.rocklandartsfestival.org for all of the events that are coming up through February the 9th. You must register to attend the events. And please stay for a little bit after we finish tonight because we will be giving away a prize to a lucky winner in the audience. Also, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and I will ask the artists the questions that you have for them. So let's get the night started. And first up, we have Bailey Cardinal, and she's going to take us on a journey of one of her favorite pieces and what it took to make it. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. So my background is actually as a painter, but about 2 years ago, I got back into printmaking. And the piece I'm going to be showing tonight is what we call a collage print. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, because before I took the class where I learned to do it, I had no idea. A collage print is where you're creating your own plate. So you're not doing it on plexiglass or anything like that, but you're taking something, either cardboard or mat board, and you're adhering outside materials to create the plate. So it's a very intricate process of creating the plate, and you really have no idea what's going to happen or how things are going to transfer. So it's a very it's a journey. So I'm going to show the actual plate. It's going to be a little hard to see, but this is what the plate looks like. So it starts as mat board, and then underneath the plate are different accents. There's also in this one netting. There's some fake butterflies here, and then it's sealed over with what we call, if you've ever used it for insulation on a house, that big silver heavy tape in the winter to lock in. It's wrapped in that, and then it's run through a press to laminate the plate and keep it so you can print multiple times. So it's very, I took a 4 session class with it, and the first and second session were all about creating the plates because it's such a process. But I wanted to show what this actually looks like. So I'm going to hold it up. There are two versions of it. So this is one version, which is, you can see it's the butterflies, and there's some netting, and there's the kind of the indentation in the background. But then the other version is rainbow rolled. And I'll show a close up of it in a second. Um, but there's a wide range of what you can do with it. And I will also show, let me see if I can pull it up very quickly. Let's see if I can share it on the screen so it's an easier. Let's see. I'm gonna try. I'm having trouble sharing it right now. Let me see if I can pull it up. Otherwise, I can just hold it. Yeah, it's not showing up for now for some reason.
Were you able to?
That's a,
Oh, okay. Oh, were you able to share
yeah,
it?
I can hold it back up. That's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but what I love about this piece is when I was creating it, as I showed you on the plate, I really had no idea what it was going to look like. And you don't really get a good idea once you put the paper over it and laminate it. You can't really see it. So it's kind of your best guess what it's going to look like. And I kind of fell in love with this process. So this was the first piece that I really did with applied my knowledge and created, and I've kind of fallen in love with the process, and I've been working with different collage plates for the last 2 years, and I really love it.
Cool. So when you're doing these plates, like you said, you're not really sure how they're gonna come out. So how did
So So in any type of printmaking, it's an exploration, but with Collograph specifically, you might really love how the aesthetic of the actual plate looks. To me, the plate is a work of art in itself, and it's kind of sad to cover it up. But you don't really know how those pieces are going to those materials you're using are going to translate onto the paper until you run it through the first time. So it's very much since you're not like painting on the plate and just inking it right off of what you're doing, you're inking something that's already been layered and glued and layered. It's really kind of a total surprise the first time you pull it off because you just don't know how the materials are going to work. I've done certain things where I loved how the plate looked and I didn't necessarily love the print. And then there have been others where I wasn't so crazy about what the plate looked like and I loved the result. So it's kind of fun because it's all a big surprise, which can also be frustrating, but it's also kind of nice.
I was about to say, yeah, that really must be frightening. Have you ever, because I'm not really sure how that all works, but have you ever like done something and you were like, oh, you want to change it a little bit? Have you then gone back
Yes.
and like reworked it?
Yes. And so that is very hard because once you kind of put the tape, the special tape over it and laminate it, you can't change it. So you basically have to create another plate using the same materials if you hopefully have them left. So that part is very frustrating. Or you could print over a print you've already done and kind of add. I have done that too. But it's kind of once the plate is sealed, that's it. So it's a big kind of journey through from the time you're adding the first materials onto there. I've used netting, I've used lace, I've used this particular piece I had leftover butterflies from some kids' party that I had taught at. So I used those and they translated really well. So you just don't know what's going to happen until the end, which is kind of it's a journey, like I said.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna ask a question. We didn't get anything in the Q&A, but I know our attendees can't see these questions, and it was, do you use a press roller to make the actual print?
So once the plate is created, which is on the map board or the cardboard and it's laminated, you take the plate that you've created, you ink it, and you roll it through a press. You could a regular printing press that you would use for anything, any other kind of print. What I've learned with the collograph is depending on what materials you have, the thicker, more kind of three-dimensional materials you have, I've added a lot of blankets so it doesn't, there's a worry of tearing the paper. So I've added blankets and run it through. One thing that I know that you can do that I haven't tried yet, which I'm going to try in the near future, is you can try to print the plate on a jelly plate because the collograph plate is so kind of versatile and heavy already. You can try to print it on a jelly plate. I haven't done that yet, but I'm curious to see what happens when I try it.
What's what's a jelly plate?
So this a jelly plate is instead of having a traditional like a plexi plate or even an, a metal plate that you kind of etch, it's what it sounds like. It's like a gelatin type plate. Don't ask me what it's made of. I don't know. um, but the great thing about them is they're very sensitive to anything with texture. So you can put almost anything on it, a leaf, a dried leaf, a actual leaf, a flower, a stencil. And you can just, all you're doing is you're inking it and you're pulling it off. And you don't need a press for a jelly plate. You can do it all by hand, which is really nice because if you're like me and don't have a big studio space, it's really nice to have things that you can kind of do at home. With the collagraphs, I print at a printmaking center near me.
Okay, yeah, because there was a question, do you own this press? So
I
I
wish I did.
get.
It would make my life very much easier, but so that's the other great thing with jelly plates. They come in all sizes and you can do it in your own living room basically.
Oh, nice. Okay, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Leonardo Montoya. and he's going to take us on his journey. I see he's got his painting right behind him.
Yes, and this is a very special piece for me because it has been so far the painting that I have sold the most. As a matter of fact, I just sold one of the reproductions to a good friend of mine, and so far I have sold probably about 7 of them. All of them with different colors, different backgrounds, different colors of the hat. And this piece, I created it back in 2015 when I started my Diva collection, which is a collection that is mostly about celebrity art. And as you can see, I just use the same image. I just changed the backgrounds, and it has become a very iconic figure, and everybody loves it. I think it has a lot of style and fashion. But this piece that you see here is actually not the original piece. The original piece, I sold it back in 2016 or 17. This is a print of that. So the original piece has an orange background and a violet hat. So what had happened is when I sold the piece, I have already submitted to be part of an international exhibition in the Middle East. And they select that piece to be part of the exhibition. But the guys who bought it, they took it to LA. It was 42 by 72 on a wood panel. So it was a little bit of a headache to contact them to lend me the piece back for me to send it all the way to the Emirates, to Ras Al Khaimah, where the exhibition was held. So what I decided to do, I did this piece. This is the original piece that I did send to the Middle East. It is on canvas, so I was able to roll it and ship it to Dubai. I had to find a frame shop over there that will stretch it back and send it to Ras Al Khaimah, which is about 1 hour north of Dubai. And I was able to be part of this exhibition. Lucky enough to be selected as the Artist of the Year. That was in 2018. So for the next year, 2019, I was the face of the festival with this piece. So it was a big achievement for me, for my career, and for my statement as an artist, because all the Diva collection and most of the work that I have been doing since 2015 is all about woman empowerment, and what an amazing way to connect to the other side of the world with a piece that talks about tolerance and about women's rights. And back in those days is when we started to see how, women were still, fighting to get their rightful place in society. So this piece represents a lot of good things for me. Also, when I did it, I was exploring adding the 3D effects to my pieces. So if you can see, some of the jewels in the artwork are actually attached to the canvas. So those are all real jewels and real pearls that I attached to the artwork, and it's all part of the Diva collection that has that special 3D effect.
I'm muted, sorry. Okay, so we have a question from the audience. Leonardo, amazing work. What advice do you have for an artist just getting started in portraiture?
Portraiture. It's all about practice, really. I think I have been lucky enough to explore this since I was a little kid. So I started drawing when I was 6 or 7, and always focus on the human figure. So the tricky thing with portraiture is that you have to be very precise. You have to be millimetric with all the dimensions in the portrait. If you already have a style, you might, you know, take some liberties. You might change things and, you know, maybe do bigger eyelashes, smaller noses are a plus, smaller ears are a plus, fuller lips is a plus. So, but still, you need to try to be very precise and keeping the likeness of the character that you're portraying.
Great. Well, I just on a side note, I actually know Leonardo personally. We both live down here in Florida, and he's a big part of the art community down here. So I'm glad that we got him to join us tonight. We actually have, okay, what was your inspiration for this piece?
Okay, so this is Audrey Hepburn. And when I started the Diva collection, she was being painted a lot back in those years. But everybody was painting the most iconic pictures of her, the ones from Breakfast at Tiffany's. So I decided to look for a photograph that was not so popular. And I found this photograph. It's a black and white photograph of her. And she had that, you know, very deep sense of style. She was very minimalistic. And I love, a lot of my work is a little bit retro. I do paint a lot of celebrities from back in the 1940s, 50s, 60s. And I love that sense of style that she has. And that's why I choose her. And that's why I choose this particular image. When I was working on it, I didn't know what was the real color of the hat. And then I, you know, did some research, and that's the original color of the hat. It's a deep emerald green. So as I say, I always admire women, not only for the obvious beauty, but more of the sense of their character. Women that has, you know, very strong characters and personality. So I think Audrey Hepburn did an amazing job at that. She was not only a great actress, but she was a humanist, and she did a lot for society.
Let's see, one last question, and that is, when you did the other paintings, like you said, in the original, the hat was green, but I think in your original painting it was a different color. So you found
Yes.
that out like later?
It was violet, but I changed both the color of the hat and the color of the background on different interpretations of it. So everybody that has got a reproduction of the artwork, they have an original piece because it's unique, even if it's because of the color of the background, the color of the hat. Even with the jewels, I use different sort of jewels in each one that I have done. So I make sure that everybody gets a unique piece.
Great. It's a beautiful piece. Beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up we have Marcela Hoffer, and she's going to talk to, I'm actually going to, well, you know what, Marcela, give a little intro and then I'll share the screen to share your piece. How's that?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So, well, thank you, Micheal and Lisa also for, I'm happy to be here and for giving me this opportunity to speak today. So I feel like I'm going to be talking more about the internal process that happens when I make my collages. I'm a collage artist. And I have been a healer for many years. I'm trained as a psychologist, and I've been practicing for many, many years. And as a healer, I always had a very sort of a creative approach to my work. I'm originally from Argentina, so I was trained in Argentina. 7 years ago, I found myself inspired to research and write a book. I wrote a book of stories about my Polish ancestors, in a sense, to heal the bridge that was created, when the Second World War wiped out most of my family, and my grandfather fled to Argentina. And my book includes a series of collages from a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, that was a huge inspiration for me to start doing my artwork. And the book really inspired me to investigate about the healing power of art. And in 2019, I think it was, I was in a national conference on expressive therapies here in New York. And I had the chance to work with my hands for the first time in a workshop that was, I forgot the name, but it was using collage for healing internal family systems. I think that's what it was. And it was a big revelation for me to work with my hands, and not to be focusing on my words, because all my life I worked with words. And so I discovered that my hands had a language of their own. It was amazing. Did not need instruction or guidance. They were kind of guiding me. And the result was both magical healing. It was wonderful. I started making art piece after piece, and all of them had sort of healing messages. Then came the pandemic, and I was forced to be home. Felt the anxiety we all shared. I learned to work on Zoom. And it was interesting because I don't know if you guys remember, we're all hearing about shortages of paper goods. And wouldn't you know it, I found myself suddenly working with paper. That's how I started with collage. I was working with toilet paper and with paper towels. What I would do is I would soak them in ink or in acrylics, and pulling them apart and then putting them together again. And discovered collage. I was pretty obsessed, day and night, nonstop. Whenever I could, I was at the table making art. I actually tried to create, I never actually tried to create anything. What was happening is that the paper towel and the toilet paper with the paint were sort of giving me the shapes already. I remember going to my husband and saying, look, you see the man here, you see the eyes, you see the hair. It was amazing. So the images would jump out at me from the mass and jumble of the colors. They were kind of calling me. I was not making them. They were somehow already there, finding me. So I do have a love relationship with my artwork, but I want to talk a little bit. What's her name? I didn't catch her name. She talked about that it becomes upsetting at times. And I'll talk more about that later. When I go to sleep, I feel excited. I'm thinking, for the next morning, I sort of want to wake up already. And I do get coffee though, but sometimes I just go to the table in my pajamas. I do get coffee before. And interesting for me, when I start a piece, I often do not have at all a specific concept or idea in my mind. I just start with either a paper that's catching my eye or an object I would love to use on the collage. As I start working and interacting with the materials or the papers, I feel like a process start to unfold. And there's some magic that happens at a certain moment when something clicks or resonates, but it takes a while. It doesn't happen right away. And it's not about doing, but more about sort of letting go. And then after that, it's fine and my hands can continue. But that is the moment I wanted to talk about that is very difficult because it's uncertainty. It's a moment of uncertainty. It's kind of different compared to what she was talking about. But I think it takes for all of us artists a lot of courage to really stay, not to leave and to quit the work when things are uncertain. With my collages, it could last a short or a long period of time. This uncertainty is never the same. And it becomes sort of a moment of trial and error. As I said, it's a process that requires a freedom, a willingness to admit to not knowing, and then allowing things to really develop without a plan. When I work, I try tons of different shapes and forms until it makes sense, until it starts resonating. It's very challenging for me when nothing is resonating. And what happens is my head fills with negative voices, my mood sours, and the thoughts could be something like I've lost it, or I will never be able to create again. Some of the thoughts I find myself wrestling with, and it's difficult. I get sad and angry at times. So at that moment, I try to sort of do something, either, disconnect from the work completely, try to close my eyes, meditate a minute, jump up and down, do something different, and then try to come back to the work. But I work consciously to bring my awareness to positive thoughts. Try to find a sort of a positive voice that will be supportive, so I don't quit the process. This is for me, one of the most difficult things when I'm working, to keep going, knowing that it takes time to find what I'm looking for and trusting the process. So for me also, another learning is to be patient. Every collage, I might change it 20 times or more. I don't know. I never counted the times, but they keep evolving. Many times I think I have finally finished the piece, and the following day I go back and I make a collage out of the old collage. So anyway, that's a little bit about the process. And I'd like to tell you about this piece that's called Starred Earth.
I'm going to put it up there for everyone to see now, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, is everyone seeing that? Okay.
Hold on. Can I make my screen smaller?
I'm not sure.
Let me see. Hold on. Do that. There you go. So this piece is called Starred Earth. It's a direct translation from Spanish. I was very attracted to the idea of a black sky. I had in my mind this pure darkness filled with stars. And for me, always the piece is reflecting something that I'm going through. Even now, I feel that I can relate to that moment. I was in a period of some turmoil and kind of a emotional turmoil. And I look for nature, usually for a sense of calm and tranquility. And of course, for me, nature is a container that is bigger, larger than life. And the sky full of stars is surely that. So when I experience nature, I'm often better able to find my own inner balance. So in this case, I started with an image in my mind of nature, of a night sky, completely dark, but filled with gold and white stars. I have no idea why I thought about that, but there was that in my mind. So I picked a black paper and I started making stars with my favorite paint markers. Those are some of my favorite tools. And filling the paper with stars for me was kind of a meditation, a sort of a repetitive motion. And in doing that, my mind emptied as I worked. I imagine I was wandering in the sky, moving from color to color, from one star to the other. And I pictured Gaia, our planet. And I remember distinctly going to the kitchen and found it a round pan to draw the circle that you see, right? around the stars. And in that moment, I felt better. My feelings changed. I had made planet Earth and I had filled it with stars. It wasn't the sky after all. And that, I felt a release because it felt like I had the foundation and the structure of what the collage would be, the concept of the piece. And then from then on, I was completely in my hands. And I felt that moment of surrendering and trusting the process. As you can see, I used 2 different markers, gold and white markers. And then I also used acrylics for some little dots. There's some green, some red, some yellow dots. I love the contrast with the black background. And that it was amazing when I was in that planet full of stars. I really enjoyed the work. And then the other piece that happened here to me is that I started making the stars, imagining a sky. And then when I created the planet, the stars and the planet became one, which for some reason, I just love that. And then finally, I started to look for a character to be in this planet. And I tried many, many different characters. I tried boys, girls, animals, all sorts of things. And I picked this girl. I just loved this girl who's kind of sitting very relaxed, kind of like chilling in the middle of such immensity. At the beginning, I tried to have her sitting on top of the planet, and then finally I decided to place her at the bottom because it gave me a feeling of, like she's sitting peacefully in the world. She's kind of resting mindfully and without tension in a boundless world. So that's me and my work. Thank you so much for allowing me to share all of this with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have one question. Marcela, your artwork has been wonderfully inspired from your family history. What other sources inspire you?
The healing, I really, the way I approach my art and the way that I make my art is thinking that it will bring healing, either, because I'm healing ancestors, I'm healing, parts of, difficult parts of the relationship with my son. So I really get inspired by this idea of healing through the art, kind of the art becoming sort of a poetic way to heal, an act of healing. I like to use the art as, when there are no words. I like to use the art even when, in the case of my ancestors, when, they didn't have a word because they were killed. So I guess, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but my inspiration comes from there, the idea of healing and the idea that you can even heal situations that may have happened a long, long, long time ago, even I hadn't been born yet, when, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
So do we have any other questions from the, I guess we do, we have a question. We do have questions. This, I guess, if you all want to take a stab at this one, what makes art to be art? Anybody want to?
I think it needs to be unique. It needs to reflect a little bit of the personality of the artist. I think it's very important for us as artists understand what is our language, what is that unconscious mind that we are trying to portray in our pieces, and make it real, make it, honest. so that we can find our own voice. Because at the end of the day, our art is our way to communicate with the world without using words. So I think that for me, authenticity and being unique is what makes an artist.
Cool. Anyone else have any input on that one? Marcela or Bailey?
I think I agree with Leonardo, and I also think it kind of goes back to the whole idea. Some people make comments when they look at something that maybe they don't understand the journey that it took to create it, and they say, "Well, I could have done that." But I think, you know, it's not necessarily always about what you see, but what went into the creation of the work and what's behind it. So I think we can't always see that, but I think that it adds the layer of meaning to the piece. So I think definitely piggybacking off of the authenticity that Leonardo is referring to, I think there's the meaning and kind of the thought behind it.
Okay. A question just popped up for Bailey. What other mediums have you worked in besides colorgraph? Also, is your work primarily abstract?
So actually, no. My main medium is typically watercolor. So I paint a lot and I do a lot of florals. I do a lot of animals. So a lot of my painting work is realistically based. There's usually kind of a spin where it's more whimsical. So it's kind of a different take on necessarily like versus like a very realistic work, but it's it's subject based. But my printmaking work is deviates a lot from what my normal work is, because I can kind of be more, it's more of an exploration for me. So it's a process where I'm trying out different things and kind of seeing how it all comes together. So it's a different way of expressing myself.
Great. And also, I had a question for Marcela. So you said that you had soaked like toilet paper, paper towels, and ink. That piece that you just showed is any of that?
No. That was, you know, during the pandemic, and that's how I started. You can see all those pieces with toilet paper and paper towel on my website.
Okay.
They're all there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fun.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I was also very moved by the texture, you know, of the material. It was during the pandemic, you know, and it was meaningful in that way.
And was it was that like did it dry and then you incorporated it, or was it okay?
Sometimes the way that I used it is, let's say I'm working with acrylics and then I'm using a paper towel to clean my hands, you know, to clean the paint of my hands. And then I, you know, it had different colors. And then I would look at that and find all these shapes and forms in that piece of toilet paper that I used to clean my hands. A lot of the shapes that I use in my collages came from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a question. Well, that might have answered it, but I'm not sure. Marcela, what other materials do you use for collages?
Oh my gosh, I pick up stuff from the street. You don't see it on this one, but now I'm working on a series about my grandmother. Actually, I had an exhibit now in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and you know, the collages, they're mixed media, because objects that, I don't know, what can I say, pieces of wood and I don't know, fabric, There's so many different things, but I sometimes pick up stuff from the leaves, from the trees. I don't know. Nets, you say? No, how do you call it? These nets, right?
Net.
But
Net.
yeah, pieces of that, all sorts of wires, then all sorts of ribbons that I sort of pull apart and I use the different pieces, you know. Yeah, that became also sort of a hobby separate from the collage work, you know, to really collect all these homeless objects. Yes.
Leonardo, we have a question. Do you use oil or acrylic for your paintings? Do you primarily do portrait profiles?
Okay, so that's two questions.
If
I
you can
work
take questions. Sorry.
I work with mixed media. So what I do is I usually start and do the first painting with acrylics. So they dry down, you know, they dry out very fast. And then I finish with oils. So like in this piece, the background is all acrylic, the pink or the fuchsia. And then all of this is oil because I don't think you are able to get that dimension with acrylic, that depth and you know the difference in the texture is different from acrylic to oils. And then what was the next question?
The next question is, do you primarily do portraits?
Profile pictures. No, I do any sort of portraits. It can be, you know, looking forward or profile. I do a lot of nude. I have done a lot of Frida Kahlos and a lot of angels. Believe it or not, I have done a lot. I have painted a lot of angels and archangels. And I'm not religious.
Back to Marcela. We have one more question. Do you coat your collages with something to protect them when they're completed?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first thing? Do I what?
Do you coat your collages with something to protect them when they're completed?
No, I don't. And I'm bad at that. I don't. Yeah. I just keep them, you know, in sort of folders, but I need to be better with that. It's a very good question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, just so we're aware, do any of you are involved in any shows at the moment or any upcoming shows? I guess we'll start with Marcela and then we'll go down the aisle here.
No, I just actually finished 2 shows in Argentina, and maybe we'll have more, but not at the moment.
Bailey?
I actually have a piece in a group show in Stamford, Connecticut right now, up through I think March. The theme of the show, which was open call to everyone in Connecticut, is what do you love the most? So that one actually has one of my more realistic pieces. It's a watercolor of one of my youngest son.
Oh, nice.
For
And
me, the only show I have upcoming is going to be a little far. Is going to be in October for the Hispanic Heritage Month, and it's going to be at the Museum of History of Fort Lauderdale in the downtown area.
great. Well, I look forward to seeing more art from all of you on your social media. And now we are going to announce the prize winner for tonight. And I don't think they're here. Let me see. So the prize for tonight is a $50 gift certificate for Autobahn Indoor Speedway. The winner is Nicholas Marino. Is Nicholas Marino here? I don't see them in the attendees. Nicholas, if you're here under someone else's name, raise your hand. Okay. Alternate winner is Dara Kane, and I don't see that person's name here either. Look what they lost out on. Okay, so I'm just going to pick someone at random in the audience. And what you'll have to do is send your mailing address to rocklandarts@gmail.com to receive your prize. And the winner is Christina Stowe. So Christina, you win, once again, $50 gift certificate to Autobahn Indoor Speedway. Send your mailing address to rocklandarts@gmail.com. It's rocklandarts@gmail.com, right? Let me just make sure. Yes, rocklandarts@gmail.com. So I want to thank all of my artists for spending this time with us, sharing their favorite pieces and their journeys and everything else that they have to offer, and they all have a lot to offer. I think they do incredible work. It was really great having a collage artist, someone who does plates and printmaking, and a painter. This was fabulous. So once again, everybody needs to go to www.rocklandartsfestival.org to check out the rest of the events that we have that are coming up through February 9th. You must register to attend. And we will see you very soon. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Good night.